Digging deeper on the facts.
It's a source I can trust.
Today's News Talk Radio, TNT.
All right, I'm joined by James Guzman, as I usually am every week. He's an American-born writer, insurance broker. If you need insurance, you can check out borderlesshealthinsurance.com and get a free consult from him. And he's also the founder of Borderless blog and podcast. That's borderlessblog.com. Or you can check out James Guzman, I think it's .com, if you're thinking of fleeing to Mexico. What's going on, James?
What's up, Hrvoje? I'm doing well, man. I just got almost $20,000 tax-free from Joe Biden, so I'm feeling pretty good.
What do you mean, like the student debt thing, or what?
Yeah, I had some debt, and I knew that it was going to be forgiven, so I haven't been paying it for a long time, and there you go. Now it's forgiven.
What about those of us that have paid off our student loans?
Sucker.
Yeah.
Oh, you thought you were living in some kind of a moral system.
So it was quite shocking, though, to see that this. I actually had the headline for my next news item: Biden cancels $10,000 in federal student loan debt for most borrowers, and up to $20,000 for recipients of Pell Grants. But get this is a really good observation. 43 million students can buy you a lot of votes in the upcoming midterms. Isn't that very, sneaky?
Yeah, I mean, and, I see a lot of people that are complaining, oh, that's buying votes, or, the people not understand the reality of the system that they're living in. Everything is buying votes. Everything is bailing out the people that put them where they are. Get with the program. There was something that I thought would be kind of interesting to share. I wrote this over 10 years ago on my blog, and it's just one paragraph. And so I wrote a whole blog post on how to get out of your student loans without paying them, because there are different ways that you could do that. And one of them is, so I just thought, so at the beginning, I wrote a paragraph here. It says, at this point, the entire financial system is one giant moral hazard. To start with, loans are originated by the banking system out of thin air, so there's no quote unquote theft taking place. If you have not yet realized that we live in a fraudulent debt-based economy, then watch this video. And there's a video about how the whole debt system works. I'm a very staunch believer in honoring your agreements on an individual basis, but in this case, one party has the magical ability to print money, which makes the entire transaction a farce. In fact, one of the big secrets is that the success of the current system rests on people taking on debt and then canceling it if things don't work out. If there were no bankruptcy or foreclosure procedures, almost all of the people we consider to be the most successful people today would be stuck in debt from their past failures and wouldn't be able to move on to more productive things. And bailout subsidies and the nature of the system in general takes morality completely out of the equation when dealing with bank or government loans. If it is an outrage to not pay your student debt, then there should be just as much outrage for every man, woman, and corporation who use the system to their advantage. It is like accusing someone of assault in the middle of a cannibalistic mosh pit. So that kind of gives my position. And also, I think within the last year or two, with the CARES Act, billions of dollars going to weapons manufacturers because of Ukraine, just continuation of all these, entitlements that are run on deficits. If people don't understand, this is the whole economy is going down. This is a joke. And, the idea that this has something to do with like free market morality or something like that. I think you're missing the point. Maybe you're a bit naive about what's going on here in the big picture.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. And I follow this great Twitter account called Navalism HQ. And he tweeted, and I totally agree. As a former professor, he says, if you need a degree to do it, it's not going to make you wealthy. So I would.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So,
and, another thing I like to point out is that a lot of people are wanting the government to bail them out from their student loan because it's too much to pay back. The basis of what you're saying is that you were ripped off, that you had a predatory loan that was given to you when you were too young, and the colleges basically scammed you by telling you that you were going to get a job, you're going to make X amount of money, and you're going to be able to pay this money back. If you didn't think that, if they didn't convince you that, then you wouldn't have done it in the first place. So by saying, well, now I need to get a bailout, what you're saying is that you were scammed, and that, it was a predatory loan or whatever. And, that could be the case. If you are scammed, then courts and the justice system can give you money back. But what that means is that the people that perpetuated the scam need to be held accountable, right? So who are the people that perpetuated the scam? Well, the universities and the Department of Education. And so if they were, propping up these universities have been making tons of money. I mean, these universities that you go to these days, they look like country clubs. They got everything you can imagine, and they're giant, and they have so much money. They've been making money for decades. So why are we allowing all of these organizations, whether it's Department of Education, the government itself, or these giant universities, to rip off all our young people? We need to shut them down, stop their subsidies, and at the very least, we need to stop telling young people to go to these universities, and that you can't get a job unless you go to the university and all this crap. If it's true that this is a big ripoff, then let's recognize it and let's do something about it. But the idea that we're going to forgive everybody's student loan, and at the same time they're going to continue to pump up this fraudulent part of the economy, and they're going to make it even bigger and now make it free for everybody and blah blah blah. That's ridiculous and stupid. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. If they want to forgive everybody's student loan, and at the same time stop all subsidies to universities, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, what I did, I come from a working class background, and I'm from Illinois, and we've got maybe people know Northwestern University out there in Evanston, right next to the city of Chicago, which is probably like $40,000 a year or something. I don't know. I went to Northeastern, not the one in Boston, but Northeastern Illinois, which is like $4,000 a year or something like that. And I worked full time, both as a high school student and university student at the now defunct Happy Foods supermarket. We called it Crappy Foods. Nice place to work and all that. But I was working full time as a high school student and university student, and studying full time. And I would never have imagined taking a $100,000 loan to study at Northwestern. For me, it's just I would rather pay as I go. And my graduate studies, I wouldn't have gone. We got a small scholarship. They gave us a discount, and my dad was able to pay for it for 1 year. I wouldn't have gone otherwise if I wasn't able to pay for it. And so, yeah, I mean, that's just I think that's how you should look at things. And other news, I guess, going back to Mexico, I think there was big news. We didn't talk about this because it's a new development, the Ayotzinapa case. So for people not familiar, I think about 8 years ago, 43 students disappeared. We've known pretty much what happened, but now they gave to the president like the final report or commission that they called it, they say it was a state crime with cover up at the highest level. And that's what I've been saying for the past couple of years, saying, yeah, the government, the police gave these university students over to cartels who were exterminated. The government, just killed its own citizens. But put your cubreboca on, your face mask, and take your vaccine. The government cares for your health. So, any thoughts on this? Is kind of a closure, I guess, of this case. They have, I think, apprehended like some guy, but I think he's just like the scapegoat. Like he was some functionary. They should go, go after those police or cartels, but they're just going to find some scapegoat. But any thoughts on this Ayotzinapa ruling?
Yeah, this has been something that's ongoing. It's a big deal. If people are not, up to date, I thought that I believe it was Netflix. They have a, again, I hate recommending Netflix, but there is a documentary on Netflix about this that I found to be pretty decent. about the background of this and a lot of videos and stuff like that about what actually happened. But yeah, I mean, I can't speak on what exactly happened or who it was or whatever, but it definitely seemed like a mix of, cartels and the government itself. And, maybe a lot of, and again, you also have the local government, the national government and all this stuff. And it's, I don't know if we'll ever know the truth, but yeah, it's very messed up and things like that happen. And along with that was also there was a person that put out another journalist that put out some information about that, and I guess he was killed. I believe it was like yesterday or the day before. So yeah, this is a very hot case.
Just remember, James, pon tu cubreboca. The government cares about your health. Before that, I mentioned, since you mentioned Biden and we started with the U.S., DeSantis has been on a roll. There's video of him going around today saying, quote, "I'm just sick of seeing him." He's talking about Fauci. "I know he says he's going to retire. Someone needs to grab that little elf and chuck him across the Potomac." And I don't know if you saw that. And then he did another one, or he was saying, "I want to have the values not of Davos imposed on us, but of places like Destin and Dunedin where I grew up. Things like the World Economic Forum, those policies are dead on arrival in the state of Florida. We're not going to go down that road." And there was even one more. Where is it? I mentioned this yesterday, where he was channeling Churchill saying, "We must fight the woke in our schools. We must fight the woke in our businesses, in our government agencies, and so on." So for me, this guy, DeSantis is, say which one. There are caveats, but I don't hear anyone speaking like this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so here he goes.
Sick of seeing him. I know he says he's going to retire. Someone needs to grab that little elf and chuck him across the Potomac.
So yeah, grab that little elf and chuck him across the Potomac. I thought it was kind of funny. Hrvoje, honestly, I mean, I like a lot of the stuff. Obviously, a lot of the stuff that he does and says, the rhetoric is great. Similar to a lot of Republicans that, they first come out and they say a lot of stuff, but I really think that, I don't know, did you see this ad that he came out where he's basically like using Top Gun imagery and all this military stuff? Did you see that one?
No, but I've my past guest Keith Preston I've had on a couple times, and he's got a theory. Yeah, he's got a theory that he's like a neocon. He's going to be coming out of the gates, a future neocon, and I'm I hope. My point is that it's just maybe he might buy us some time, DeSantis, so that I'm not like putting my hopes.
Yeah, he seems. The point is, like, especially that newest ad that he has, where it's like, oh, he's in a jet, and you got these the Top Gun shades on and all this type of stuff, and we already know that he's like very sympathetic to the Zionists and Israel and stuff, and like even more than Trump. And so I think they're kind of setting him up to be George Bush 2.0, basically neocon puppet. Once he gets to the national level, that's the thing. I mean, he's great in Florida. I wish he would just stay in Florida and work on local issues and all that type of stuff. But once these guys get to Washington, and I don't think that they understand how all the bureaucracy works and these snakes, and they just take over them. And so I think that would probably happen to him. That's how it all works, is that people have to come out and they have to say things that appeal to you, and that you're going to go for. That's how all this stuff works. So just because somebody says something that appeals to you doesn't mean you should just buy into the whole thing. But he has leadership qualities, that's for sure. And if I could choose like a government right now in the world, Florida would be up there for sure.
Yeah, Keith Preston also has his weekly mail list with all of his blog postings, and I always find my Geopolitics and Empire podcast included now on his email list, which is pretty cool. And you mentioned the economy, so I had some stories on Mexico. This was actually quite shocking. This statistic that we all know about the inflation that's going on, food. I mean, you name it, from food to rent, housing, just everything, and then energy. And apparently, out of all of the OECD countries, Mexico has the lowest inflation. This is from actually this summer, a couple months ago. You see places like Turkey, 172%, UK, 57%, the Baltics countries, some of them like 60, 70, 80%, Italy, 48%, Mexico, 5.8%. And, you know, I've been away for some months from Mexico, but yeah, if we think of the electricity prices, they really haven't budged in Mexico. They're subsidized by the Mexican government. The gasoline, I did read that the gasoline prices will be going up like 2 pesos a liter, I think. But again, in comparison to other countries, that's like nothing. So this is, you know, a positive for Mexico, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of different theories about what was going on with the gas prices. They did go up just like they went up in the U.S., and then they have kind of come back down. Whether that's because of the U.S. going into its strategic reserves, or other people say that it has to do with larger corporations and things like that were changed their business strategies to use less gas. It's hard to say, but the price did go down. It's always been cheaper than the United States. We did see some food inflation and other things like that. I mean, me personally, I find it to be very affordable here still. You know, nothing's going crazy, and I wouldn't say that, you know, I can give you the exact you know, how all the locals are living, but I mean, for me, it's very comfortable. It's still inexpensive, and it's been basically this, you know, the same price, although there has been some food inflation. Pretty much everything that I buy here where I live, it's all locally sourced, everything that we cook with. So other than extreme hyperinflation, things like that, I don't know how much the supply lines can really affect us, to be honest with you, because it's, you know, we buy our stuff from local shops that get it directly from, you know, distributed and decentralized kind of network of fincas and other places like that. So it hasn't been really bad for me here, but it's hard for me to speak on the entire Mexico. So yeah, that's been my experience.
We've got narco inflation, no joke, because they're messing with avocados and farms. That's causing the food to go up, enforcing mafia style taxes on farmers, you know, so that's making everyone else pay much more for avocados and everything else. From Forbes, Mexico, talking about how inflation in Mexico is not stopping, and the level of inflation has risen to a level not seen in 21 years since the year 2000. But if we just take this in the grand scope of things, comparing it to, you know, other countries, I think everyone's experiencing something similar around the world. So not really some groundbreaking news, but yeah, things just are not getting better. They're getting worse. And one more piece of related news, we were talking about energy, but apparently just today or yesterday, I think it was made official, AMLO has created a state-run company to mine lithium. I think this is a good thing. I mean, in many respects, on the sovereignty front, Mexico is looking good. We do have this Agenda 2030 Great Reset push that's also accelerating. So we've got these two sort of things. It's good in terms of economy, cost of living, bad, and sovereignty, bad in terms of, you know, this agenda that is also ongoing in Mexico. And, you know, any thoughts on the lithium?
No, you know, I actually have to look into that. I think that's very interesting. Yeah, I know that Mexico has the biggest lithium deposits in the world, I guess, that haven't been explored. And a lot of people were speculating that had to do with something with the Mormons in Sinaloa. So yeah, I mean, I think that, with all of the technology, they all use lithium. Computers, microchips, all this type of stuff, and also solar panels and all this type of thing. So yeah, I mean, I think that's, it's one of these rare earth minerals, and Mexico is rich with it. So obviously people are going to be interested in getting it. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to watch. I think I need to look more into it, see all the details.
And anything else interesting that you've been hearing about? Anything else on your radar?
There was a meeting, or between Mexico and Colombia. So the new Colombian president that we spoke about when he first got elected, he met with the foreign minister. I can't remember this guy's name. Ebrard, he seems to be the guy that's next up in line for Morena. So the new Colombian president says the Mexican people and the Colombian people can be key to Latin American unity, a great voice in the universe that allows our cultures, our blood, our struggles to succeed, to advance. We can be what Vasconcelos called the cosmic race, the unity of blood in the world. Okay, that's what Petro said. And so what he's talking about, the cosmic race, I did want to explain that a little bit to a lot of people that listen to this, English speakers, maybe they're in the United States. So if they've heard of La Raza. La Raza is a group that, in the United States, it used to be pretty big. I guess it's not anymore, but a lot of people, especially on the right in the United States, would use this as an example. Say, like, look, we have like a racist Latino organization here, that are basically like advocating for one race, La Raza. And so I wanted to give a little bit more nuance to that situation. So La Raza is talking about the cosmic race that was written about in this essay, and is called The Cosmic Race. If people want to look it up, you can Google it. And it was I guess you consider him like a left-wing professor who wrote an essay about the basically the whole South American, Central American continent, Latin America in general, that because the Spanish had come here and mixed with the indigenous, that it had created a kind of a whole mixed race culture where it was so hard to boil down the race that it was just it was a post racial culture, and that was going to be the race that would go into the cosmos and lead the world into the future. I find that you can look up the essay online. I find the essay to be completely stupid and unintelligible, but it did make a big impact, and a lot of obviously it started a movement. A lot of people in academia still look to it as a very important essay, and I don't find it to be very well written or very have a lot of logic to it. But so the coming president of Colombia, Petro, directly referenced that, and he was saying that the Mexican people and the Colombian people are both part of this cosmic race, which he was directly referencing. This article that basically the idea is like, Latin America are all part of this new race that is going to take over the world and go into the cosmos. So I thought that was kind of interesting coming from a world leader.
Yeah, that's really the first I've heard of this. You just gave me a mini lesson. I don't know, what else to add to that. Just though you talking about this and how some of these left-wing countries now seem to be coming together. We've talked a bit about this. For me, the most interesting thing is looking at this pattern now, where you've got many of these countries now very sympathetic to each other. AMLO's Mexico, Venezuela. I believe they're going to be. Well, Maduro announced that there's supposedly going to be flights now going from Venezuela to the U.S., Miami or something. I actually heard him say that. And of course, now we go from right-wing Ivan Duque in Colombia to left-wing Petro. They're talking about rebuilding this plan Gran Colombia. Like it's a century-old idea. Well, it existed and then it fell apart. And then there are talks to revive it. I'm actually going to have Jose Nino write a piece on that. But it's like, again, my thing is the regional integration. So all of these sort of left-wing-ish countries now might look to push a new sort of like a European Union, Latin American Union style thing. I don't really have other groundbreaking news, just more of the security stuff. I did find it interesting. A lot of crazy stuff's been going on in Guanajuato. We had the narco blockades in Guadalajara a few weeks ago. Up near northern Baja California, there was crazy stuff going on. Guanajuato, actually, that where you are, Guanajuato, it's like I think half of Guanajuato is not very secure, and then the other half is not that bad. But apparently, there has been an elite force of ex-cops that infiltrated local police in Guanajuato and found 150 that had links to narcos. So just reading this sort of news seems to be, a bit of a positive turn that they did something like this. Any thoughts here?
Yeah, so it is kind of surreal, because I live in Guanajuato, which is, per the statistics, one of the most violent states in what is considered to be one of the most violent countries. But where I live is very peaceful. Funny enough, I mean, I experience less crime where I am than I would in, where I'm from in North Carolina or Virginia. And so, yeah, it's kind of it's an interesting thing as far as, safety, crime, things like that. It's very subjective. I guess that's a whole nother subject. But yeah, on the other side of Guanajuato, there is a gang war going on, and that's what we find in almost all of the places across the world, whether it's the United States or anywhere, mostly in the Americas, is that the crime is it's people fighting over drug territories. They're gangs, and very small clusters, very small neighborhoods within certain urban areas that that's where drastic majority of the crime and the murders come from. And if you were to take these areas out, whether it's in Mexico or the United States, then the crime rate just plummets big time. And that's one thing I think, a lot of people that talk about how dangerous the United States is and all that type of stuff. I mean, basically, if you take certain neighborhoods out of certain cities in the United States has a crime rate or a murder rate similar to like Switzerland or Denmark or something. I don't want to say Mexico's the same. I haven't done all the breakdown of Mexico, but it's very similar in that most of the murders and crimes that takes place against gang members in certain neighborhoods. And if you stay away from that stuff, then it's, you're mostly good to go. So, there has been stuff going on, and it's not good. It's not good for society in general. But I think we're just seeing instability throughout the world, throughout the West. So you have to kind of pick your poison as far as what it is you're able to tolerate, as far as where you want to go.
Yeah, as you said, the question is, do you want to be renditioned to a CIA black site or a narco black site? It's that's the decision to make. I did read just now news about AMLO and his 4T, his fourth Mexican sort of revolution, as he calls it. He's trying to revive digital ID. in Mexico. So they are trying to bring this. It's called Cédula Única de Identidad Digital, and that includes iris, facial recognition, biometrics, and this sort of thing. So don't kid yourselves. Again, Mexico is under globalist attack, and there is also something called Escazú. It's a sort of UN agreement for Latin America, where basically on the boogeyman of climate change, they're giving sovereignty over to the international organizations and would allow basically the declaration of any zone to be restricted or protected in the name of climate change. And then they're going after water rights as well in Mexico, saying, if you've got water on your land, it's not yours, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, getting back to more, forward-looking positive stuff about digital nomadism. People are asking me when am I coming back to Mexico, and I'm like, I don't know. I realized I'm a digital nomad. I can work from anywhere. So when I feel like it, I'll come back to Mexico. But your thoughts on digital nomadism?
Yeah, so I thought I would, it might be interesting to touch on this. People listen to us talking about Mexico and things like that. Basically geopolitics and things like. What's going on in the news, but that hasn't been the subject of my blog and podcast. Normally, it's been kind of how to get freedom in your own life. One of the main things is getting location independent income. It doesn't necessarily have to be online. Okay, so you can start with that online, but it can also be dividends from sort of an investment income. It can be rental income from real estate anywhere in the world. This kind of thing. And then you have to focus on lowering your cost of living, lowering your tax burden, et cetera. And so that's why you would come to a less expensive place like, say, Mexico, and have a very high cost of living, a place where, it's great quality of life, great food, great people, and cost way less than it would be where you formerly were. And again, if you are not happy with what's going on with the government, if you don't like the fact that they, like we were just talking about at the top of the program, that they just bailed out all these people that didn't want to pay their student loans, well, that means that you don't agree with paying your taxes. So how do you do that? You can legally get pay less taxes by moving internationally, okay, and understanding international tax law, getting residency in another country, which is very easy to do. But the first thing you need to do is learn how to make money online, whether that's with a skill or investments and things like that. And so this is something that I've talked about in my blog, my podcast, which is over 100 podcasts, and people can go check it out. It's all free. Borderless podcast. And I'm also going to be talking about that at the upcoming Expat Money Summit, and a bit about, being an expat versus being a digital nomad. See, you mentioned being a digital nomad, that you consider yourself to be a digital nomad. And there's a lot of people that have done that and are, it's definitely a growing movement for people that, maybe they have a remote job or somehow they're able to make money online and travel is easier than ever. Well, before this COVID stuff happened. And so, so they're able to travel all over. And basically a digital nomad is someone that is constantly moving. It literally means someone who performs their occupation entirely over the internet while traveling, and which is fine. But I think that, when people are considering a lifestyle like this, do they necessarily always want to be traveling? Because although you consider yourself a digital nomad, Hrvoje, I would actually think that you're more of an expat, because you have roots in Mexico. Obviously, your wife is Mexican, and you have
wait, that's
there.
Confusing. I'm a Mexican, so how can I be an expat if I am Mexican?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
technically.
So there's a lot. So maybe you would be an immigrant.
Yeah, there we go. I'm a immigrant. Reverse, I'm American
now there's another
immigrant.
category. Yeah, there's another category. So you were raised in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And your parents were from Croatia?
Yeah, I mean, I also was raised, a bit in Croatia as well, but largely U.S.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you ever heard of the term third culture kid?
Not usually, because for most people, it's like two cultures and then less common three. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I would also consider you a third culture kid, meaning like there's 1, 2, meaning 1 being the culture of where you grew up, 2 being the culture of your parents, and the third culture is you. Okay. So it's a very kind of a sociological thing, but there is a thing called the third culture kids. I would look into it if I was you. It's very interesting, and people that are considered to be third culture kids that grew up in between 2 different cultures have kind of a different sociological or psychological makeup, and so in a way that would be your group rather than a digital nomad and an immigrant or even a refugee. A lot of people, especially from Canada, consider themselves to be refugees, but I think you're probably more of a third culture kid, honestly.
I could see myself as a refugee from the United Soviet States of America, but actually, I did know once a 4 culture kid. I mean, it was one of my coworkers in Mexico. Yeah. Fascinating story. The guy has 4 passports, and he speaks English, Spanish, French, but basically he's got Swiss Belgian background, so right there 2 passports, but he was born in Panama, so he's got Panamanian citizenship, and then ended up in Mexico, and married a Mexican, so that's the 4th Mexican citizenship. So that's pretty that's I think the most I've known about 4 citizenships and cultures. Nothing else is coming to mind on this. One of my fears, though, going forward, as you said, working online and traveling, is COVID 1984. How? I think we have to be measured and be careful because, especially in independent media, I talk. I see people who they go to an extreme, this hyper alarmism, and I'm not saying we're not headed down a difficult road ahead, but I don't think some of this stuff is not maybe not going to develop, next month or maybe possibly not even next year. But there may come a time soon where there's going to be digital ID, social credit system, vaccine passports for travel internationally. We see them capping flights in the Netherlands airport. Britain, UK now is canceling. British Air is canceling permanently a number of flights, and so Ryanair though is increasing them, which is good, but travel might become extremely difficult in the near future. I mean, how do you view that for the digital nomads then?
There's pluses and minuses as far as being an expat or a digital nomad or whatever, and part of being a digital nomad, some of the stuff that it's a drawback is that it's less stable. I mean, obviously you can't do I want to have a sustainable homestead and, I need to have this network of people and all this type of stuff. I mean, you can't do that if you're a digital nomad and you're moving around every 2 weeks. At the same time, it's more agile. So if some place is going to hell and you need to get out quick, then you could easily do that as a digital nomad, you would think. So there are pluses and minuses. And that's kind of what I plan on going over a little bit more in depth at the Expat Money Summit coming up a couple of months.
Yeah, but that's also just one of those principles like Doug Casey, the international man, and others talk about having multiple citizenships and multiple residence, homes, apartment, home, or whatever in different countries, as some of us do. And you can just escape from one to the other like I just have. But again, who knows when this window of travel, how long it will remain open. So we got a minute left. Again, where are the best places to find you on the internet, James?
Oh, yeah. Everybody can check me out at borderlessblog.com, Borderless Podcast. You see all my podcasts. It's amazing. I've got tons of podcasts. People are interested in what we're talking about as far as living internationally, making money online, different modes of doing that and all that. I mean, lots of free information on that podcast from years of me just doing that for free, basically. So, check it out, borderlesspodcast.com. And if you want any help moving abroad, or you need health insurance or property insurance, anything like that, hit me up. You can go to...
We're out of time, James. Thank you. We'll talk to you next week. Good luck with the baby.